Right, I'm not about to put this front back together just so that you can see me take it apart again. This is the orientation of the Navall 2. Now, to remove the front, what you have to do firstly is remove this top cover. There's a couple of screws either side. Flip that off, and you will see once you've got this cover off, you will see there's two screws here. And then at the front, at the rear here, you have two either side. So remove the top two first, and then very carefully remove the remaining four on the sides here. When you take them out, be as careful as you can. These things have not been put together with the intention of being taken apart. If you manage to get these screws out without the securing lugs breaking, you're going to be very, very fortunate. And in actual fact, the chances are when you come to put it back together, they will all break. What I've done with this one is when I've had it apart, I've actually reinforced them to give them a bit of strength. As you can see, all I've used is a glue gun to put support around them. They are very, very flimsy, and if you're not careful, you'll end up with the front falling off the thing. Having done that, what you need to do is just, before you start disassembling, go around these FFCs that you're going to take off, and with a marker, put a nice tight mark all the way across every single one of them. You can see, let's have a look, like so. This will enable you to make sure that you've got them fully home when you replace them. The other thing that I really, really do suggest that you do, this is the cable from the digitiser. This one here, I'm trying to hold the camera and see what I'm doing at the same time. This digitiser connector has a turn in it. So what I would really suggest that you do, come on, get some focus here, is put a dab of, what I've done is I'm quite a lover of nail varnish. I don't use it personally, but I use it in equipment. Put a dab of nail varnish on the top of this flexible connector. That way, when you've fitted the new one, you'll be able to follow it through and get the darn thing the right way up. It's actually quite easy to get it the wrong way up, I would have thought. So, having got that far and prepared that, marked up all the cables, it's time to start taking the thing apart. Okay, so we're actually ready to start disconnecting now, with the exception of two. All the connectors on here are the same. So start with these two. You've got two end protuberances here. Push them away from the connector and slide this out. Working your way around, again, you'll see we'll push these forward and slide it out. Now, once these are out, these can flap about in the breeze a bit. So when you come to put these cables back in, make sure that these are fully open, and obviously you'll be sliding these back in. They'll go in nice and easily up to the line. The only exception to those is you have a straight pull-out connector here, which just give it a wiggle, gently pull it out with your fingers. Obviously do not pull on the wires. The only different connector you have there, and this is the one you have to be extra careful with, is this little beast here, which is the display connector. Now this has a flap right across the back that you have to carefully get under and lift. Yeah, so you might need to put something a little bit wider under there. Don't fight with it, don't force it. It will flip up, it's on a hinge, and then it will allow this to lift out like so. Be very, very careful. If you break this connector, basically you might as well take the whole thing and put it in the bin. So work your way around the unit, taking these out. Obviously this one's got to come out. We have one here and one here. At that point, everything should be free. Move everything out of the way. You have 4 screws. Again, they're very, very flimsy in their fixings. Let's have a look. No, it isn't. In fact, it's 6. I apologise. So we have 1, 2, 3 up the top here, 4, 5 and 6. With everything freed off, carefully remove those screws and lift the board away. I'll see you on the other side of that. Okay, so the PCB is now out of the way. We're ready to press the screen out. But now is actually a convenient time to just separate these two flexibles. Now they're held together with just a bend over section of tape. Initially this is actually very sticky and quite difficult to get off. So ease the tape off, which is going to make it much easier to separate the two screens once you've got it pushed out. Having done that, just tip the unit up, slip your fingers underneath this end and push the screen out from underneath at the top and lift the whole section out, laying it down like so, and we can now for the moment pop this bit out of the way. Okay, so we can see now with the screen laying down like this flexi is flat and straight. There's the mark that we made on it before we removed it, so when the new screen goes on you can replicate that mark so that you've got it the right way up when you put the thing back together. So the touchscreen is held in place against the display with a cloth backed adhesive tape. So what we need to do is peel this back so it stays on the display but frees off the touchscreen, top and bottom. Now you can add a little bit of extra tape afterwards when you put it back together if you wish, but it needs to be thin. But the tape that's there should be strong enough to hold it together. So now what you need to do is remove your mohair cardigan, put the dog out, the cat out. Make sure there's no dust or mess around where you're working at all. Get on your surgical gloves, ensure that the inner face of the new screen is meticulously clean. Lift this one off and place the new one in its place. Having done that, give the screen a darn good check over to make sure that you have no specks of dust, dirt or hairs trapped between the two. And maybe an idea to give it a good look over with the torch. Obviously you get the general idea, because if you do have anything trapped in there, the chances are you're not going to spot it until you've got the whole thing back together. I will see you now on the other side of this stage. So we have the new screen fitted. It arrived today, very well packed, but be advised that the new screen, although it has protective sheets on front and the rear face, when I removed the rear face one it was actually quite mucky under there, so I've had to clean the inside face with a bit of alcohol and obviously a lint-free cloth to make sure everything was perfectly and meticulously clean. So that's the new screen in place. We've marked up the little fly lead here, so we're going to start reassembling. Turn it over. Here we go. Right, okay, don't stick these two together yet, leave them apart. So place the screen into the machine and get it in at the front, and then you should be able to, it was worse when you're trying to demonstrate something, make sure everything's clear, and we should be able to press it home, and once it's in, make sure that it is in and flush totally to the front. There we go, and at that point we're ready to start reassembling. Okay, so right, here we go with the PCB, which has got to go on. Now, the first thing to do is to make sure that this fly lead comes up through that hole in the outer PCB. Now, while you're doing this, first of all, make sure that you don't trap this between this outer PCB section here and the display. Also, while you're working on this, make sure that you don't somehow get your fingers underneath and push the PCB, push the display rather, out of where it's sitting. I would really suggest that what you do at this stage, before you fix the PCB back in, that you'll probably note, well, you probably won't notice, but there is an offset between this flexible from the display and the connector, and if you screw the PCB in first, you'll probably struggle with this. So what you need to do is make sure this gate on the connector is fully up, slide that connector in, clip the gate down, make sure this gate is fully open here, slide this one in and lock the gate on it, and then fix the PCB in place, because it is this PCB that actually holds the screen in place. Make sure that you don't trap this one. So we're going to do that bit now, and again I will see you on the other side. I have to do it this way because I can't get my head in the way of the camera. Okay, so these two are back. Now, just so that you know, when you come to fit this flexible, it goes underneath that black section of gate. You might be tempted to try and put it over that sliding gate to go in. It actually goes underneath the sliding gate, but with the PCB up, you can obviously with the PCB out, you can actually lift that so that you can slide it in, hold it in place, and then firmly close the gate. So what we are then doing is just working our way round, slipping everything back into where it belongs. Make sure that the gates are open, yeah, slide them in to the line that you made previously, and then like so. Let me make sure that you can see that okay. So there we go. So now we can slide that in, close the gate, and we can see the line that we made. Working your way around, don't do these two obviously until the last moment. We'll slide that one in. Let's just do one more here. So I go here, and make sure I'm not putting my head in the way. Make sure the gate is fully open, like so. Slide your, so this one's going to play me about. Slide it in up to the line, as you can see, and then close the gate, just give it a nip, and then you can get either side and close it right up so that it comes up tight in there. Okay, so I'm just going to flip this side on here, and then we'll be almost ready to put the main unit behind it and connect up. Okie dokes, right, nearly ready to rock and roll. You can see that I've actually taped these two back together. It's not a particularly good design. What I've also done is I've slipped a little extra tape just behind this, because this digitiser board here actually sits and looks like it rubs against the bottom of this. So I've just put slipped a little bit of extra tape in there. So everything's back together. We've got the main flexibles now back onto the main unit, so now would be an excellent idea for us to flip that up, and I'm going to move this. Let's fire it up. This is going to be an ideal opportunity to check the thing, obviously. Right. Sorry about the bright red t-shirt. Obviously you may want to check this before you actually screw the front back on, and let's have a look and see what we've got. There we go. Go back. These always were a bit. Oh, there we go. They're a bit ditchy on the back. Yep. That's it. There we go. Settings. Yeah. That's it, folks. We're rock and roll. I don't know what to do with it now, but there you go. It is fixed.